Morning light spills across the rooftops of Lisbon. It is November 1st, 1755, All Saints' Day. Churches are filled. Candles burn beside silk banners. Bells echo through narrow streets. The city is wealthy, confident, secure in its faith. Then, the earth convulses. A massive earthquake tears through the Atlantic seabed. Buildings collapse in seconds. Cathedrals crumble under worshippers. Stone facades crash into crowded streets. Survivors run toward the harbor seeking safety. They watch the sea pull back. Then, the tsunami arrives. Walls of water swallow the lower city. Fires ignite from toppled candles and shattered kitchens. For days, Lisbon burns. Between 30,000 and 50,000 people die. But the devastation is not only physical. Across Europe, philosophers begin asking dangerous questions. If God is benevolent, why destroy the faithful during prayer? The earthquake reshapes theology, politics, and science. It accelerates the Enlightenment. It forces Europe to confront a terrifying idea. Catastrophe has no moral preference. Lisbon fell in minutes. Certainty fell with it. In the shadow of Mount Vesuvius, Roman life flourishes. Pompeii thrives with markets and bathhouses. Herculaneum hums with coastal wealth. The empire feels eternal. Then, the mountain explodes. Ash rises miles into the sky. Stones rain down. Darkness swallows noon. Pyroclastic surges rush faster than any human can run. Thousands suffocate. Entire families are frozen in ash, preserved in their final moments. Rome survives, the empire continues, but beneath hardened volcanic stone lies a permanent reminder: power does not negotiate with nature. Civilization can be erased in a single afternoon.
In 1347, ships drift into European harbors carrying more than silk and spices. They carry death. The disease begins quietly: fever, swollen lymph nodes, darkened skin, then delirium, then death.
Within months, entire neighborhoods fall silent. Within years, entire regions are emptied. The Black Death moves along trade routes with merciless efficiency. From Italy to France, from Spain to England, it spares neither peasant nor noble. Between 25 and 50 million people die. That number is almost unimaginable. Nearly half of Europe's population erased within a handful of years. Priests abandon parishes, doctors flee cities, parents bury children and then collapse beside them. Fear turns to suspicion. Minorities are scapegoated. Violence spreads alongside disease. But catastrophe also rearranges society. With labor suddenly scarce, workers demand higher wages. Serfs negotiate freedoms. Feudal hierarchies begin to fracture. The medieval world does not simply endure the plague. It transforms because of it. When death becomes universal, power must reorganize itself. The Black Death was not only a pandemic, it was the beginning of the end of one era and the painful birth of another.
This next tragedy does not explode in a single day. It unfolds over centuries. From the 16th to the 19th century, millions of Africans are captured, sold, and transported across the Atlantic Ocean. The journey is called the Middle Passage. Men, women, and children are chained below deck in suffocating darkness. Bodies are stacked side by side. Disease spreads rapidly. Food and water are scarce. Resistance is met with brutality. Many die before reaching land. Over 12 million survive the crossing. Millions more perish before ever seeing the sea. This is not chaos born of disaster. It is organized commerce. European empires construct an economic system dependent on forced labor. Plantations expand. Sugar, cotton, and tobacco enrich distant capitals. Human beings are reduced to property. Families are separated permanently. Languages suppressed. Identities erased. The Atlantic slave trade reshapes demographics across continents. It entrenches racial hierarchies that will echo through law, politics, and culture for centuries. It builds fortunes. It destroys generations. This tragedy is not a moment. It is a structure. And structures built on suffering leave foundations that crack long after the chains are gone.
In 1845, a fungus arrives silently in Ireland. It infects the potato crop, the primary food source for millions of poor families. At first, it appears manageable. Then it spreads. Fields blacken, harvests rot underground. The smell of decay lingers across rural villages. For those who rely almost entirely on potatoes for sustenance, there is no alternative. Starvation begins slowly, then it accelerates. Over 1 million people die. Another million flee the island, boarding ships bound for Britain, America, and beyond. Yet throughout the famine, food continues to be exported from Ireland. Grain and livestock leave ports under armed guard, while families starve inland. The crisis is agricultural, but it is also political. British governance, bound by economic ideology and colonial policy, responds inadequately. Relief efforts falter, evictions increase, entire communities collapse. The population of Ireland falls dramatically and does not recover for more than a century. The famine reshapes Irish identity. It fuels nationalism. It deepens resentment. It alters global migration patterns. Hunger becomes more than absence of food. It becomes a memory carried across generations, and memory can be more enduring than famine itself. In 1914, a continent governed by empires slides into war. What begins as an assassination spirals into alliances mobilizing millions. Soldiers march with optimism, believing the conflict will end by Christmas. It does not. Instead, they find themselves entrenched in mud. Machine guns cut down thousands in minutes. Artillery shells turn landscapes into craters. Poison gas drifts across no man's land, burning lungs and blinding eyes. The Battle of the Somme alone claims over 1 million casualties. By 1918, more than 16 million people are dead. Empires collapse under the weight of exhaustion. The Ottoman Empire fragments. The Austro-Hungarian Empire dissolves. The Russian monarchy falls into revolution. Borders are redrawn hastily. Resentments linger. World War I transforms warfare into industrial slaughter. Technology, once hailed as progress, becomes a mechanism for mass death. The war meant to secure peace instead sows instability. It proves that modernity does not guarantee restraint. Sometimes it simply multiplies destruction. In the 1930s, ideology hardens in Germany. Under Adolf Hitler's regime, propaganda saturates society. Laws strip Jewish citizens of rights. Ghettos confine communities. Deportations begin. By 1941, extermination becomes policy. Concentration camps operate with bureaucratic precision. Trains arrive on schedule. Victims are processed systematically. 6 million Jews are murdered. Millions of others, Roma, disabled individuals, political dissidents, prisoners of war, are also targeted. This is not spontaneous mob violence. It is state-organized genocide. Clerks file paperwork. Engineers design facilities. Guards follow orders. The Holocaust reveals a chilling truth. Modern systems can facilitate unimaginable cruelty when guided by hatred. It demonstrates how prejudice, when legitimized by authority, becomes lethal. The scale of loss is staggering, but the moral rupture is deeper. It forces humanity to confront what civilization is capable of when power abandons conscience. Never again becomes a vow and a warning. In August 1945, a single bomb falls from the sky. It detonates above Hiroshima with a force previously unseen in human history. Within seconds, tens of thousands are vaporized, buildings disintegrate, Shadows are burned into walls. 3 days later, another bomb destroys Nagasaki. More than 200,000 people die, either instantly or from radiation sickness in the months that follow. The Second World War ends shortly after, but the world does not return to normal. It enters the nuclear age. For the first time, humanity possesses the capability to eliminate itself entirely. The atomic bomb becomes both weapon and deterrent. Nations race to build arsenals. The Cold War unfolds under constant threat of annihilation. Hiroshima and Nagasaki are not just wartime events. They are thresholds. They mark the moment when technological advancement reaches existential consequence. Power has never been so absolute, nor so terrifying.
In 1947, as colonial rule in South Asia comes to an end, a new line is drawn across the map. British India is partitioned into 2 nations. The border slices through villages, farms, and cities. Communities that have lived side by side for generations suddenly find themselves on opposite sides of history. Violence erupts almost immediately. Homes are burned, trains are attacked. Caravans of refugees stretch for miles across scorching plains. An estimated 14 million people migrate. Up to 1 million die in communal violence. Families flee with whatever they can carry. Many never arrive at their destinations. Partition is intended as a political solution. It becomes a humanitarian catastrophe. The trauma reverberates for decades. Relations between India and Pakistan remain strained. Memories of displacement endure within families. Lines drawn in haste leave scars that time struggles to heal. Between 1959 and 1961, famine grips China during the Great Leap Forward. Agricultural collectivization disrupts traditional farming. Steel production quotas divert labor from fields. Local officials exaggerate harvest numbers to satisfy political pressure. Grain is exported based on false reports. In rural provinces, food disappears. Starvation spreads silently across villages. Families survive on tree bark, wild plants, anything remotely edible. Between 15 and 30 million people die. Information is tightly controlled, acknowledgement is delayed, accountability is limited. This tragedy is not solely the result of drought. It is compounded by policy, pride, and the suppression of truth. When governance prioritizes image over reality, suffering multiplies. The Great Chinese Famine stands as one of the deadliest human-made disasters in history. It reveals how power, unchecked by transparency, can magnify catastrophe beyond imagination.
April 26, 1986. At a nuclear power plant in Soviet Ukraine, a late-night safety test goes wrong.
A reactor explodes. A column of radioactive material rises into the sky, invisible but lethal. Firefighters respond without adequate protection. Many receive fatal doses of radiation within minutes. Nearby residents are told little. Children play outside beneath a contaminated sky. The city of Pripyat is evacuated the next day, but exposure has already begun. Chernobyl contaminates vast regions across Europe. Entire towns are abandoned permanently. The disaster exposes flaws in reactor design and in governmental secrecy. Radiation cannot be seen, but its consequences endure for generations. Chernobyl is not merely technological failure. It is a reminder that complex systems require transparency, accountability, and humility. Without them, Invisible forces become silent killers.
In 1994, in the small nation of Rwanda, violence escalates with terrifying speed. Political tensions between Hutu and Tutsi communities erupt following the assassination of the president. Militias mobilize almost instantly. Neighbors turn on neighbors. Radio broadcasts encourage extermination. Roadblocks appear across cities and villages. In approximately 100 days, around 800,000 people are killed. The international community debates intervention while massacres continue. The genocide demonstrates how rapidly propaganda can transform fear into violence. It shows how quickly societal bonds can unravel when hatred is legitimized. After the killing ends, Rwanda begins a long process of reconciliation and rebuilding, but the memory remains. The genocide stands as a stark lesson. Peace is fragile when division is cultivated, and inaction can be as consequential as action. On December 26, 2004, an undersea earthquake off the coast of Indonesia triggers one of the deadliest tsunamis in recorded history. The ocean withdraws briefly from beaches, revealing exposed seabed. Moments later, towering waves crash ashore across 14 countries. Entire coastal communities are erased in minutes. More than 230,000 people die. The scale of destruction is overwhelming. Yet in the aftermath, an unprecedented wave of global aid flows into affected regions. The tragedy highlights both vulnerability and solidarity. Nature does not recognize borders or economic status. When tectonic plates shift, humanity is reminded of its relative scale. We build along coastlines with confidence. The sea remembers its power. In 2011, protests began in Syria amid a wave of uprisings across the Middle East. What starts as demonstrations calling for reform escalates into civil war. Government forces respond with force. Rebel groups organize. Extremist factions emerge. Foreign powers intervene. Cities like Aleppo are reduced to rubble. Chemical weapons allegations shock the world. Millions flee across borders seeking refuge. Hundreds of thousands die. The conflict fragments the nation and destabilizes the region. The Syrian Civil War illustrates how internal unrest can evolve into prolonged international crisis. Modern warfare is rarely contained. It spills across boundaries, reshaping geopolitics and humanitarian landscapes alike. The war continues to shape migration patterns, diplomatic alliances, and regional security. Its consequences are ongoing. Its resolution remains uncertain. In late 2019, reports emerge of a new respiratory illness. By early 2020, the virus spreads globally. Airports empty, streets fall silent, hospitals overflow, governments impose lockdowns, economies slow to a halt, millions die worldwide. Healthcare workers labor under relentless pressure. Families say goodbye through screens. Funerals are limited to small gatherings. The pandemic exposes structural inequalities in healthcare access, employment security, and political coordination. It also accelerates scientific collaboration. Vaccines are developed at unprecedented speed. COVID-19 becomes not only a medical crisis, but a social mirror. It reveals the strengths and weaknesses of interconnected societies. The virus travels swiftly across borders. So does information. So does fear. The pandemic reminds humanity that no nation is isolated. In a globalized world, vulnerability is shared. And so, ideally, is responsibility.
If you found this deep dive valuable, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us which dark chapter of history you want explored next, because the past is never silent. It waits to be understood.